Peter, what's your thoughts?
Thoughts at the end of that, it feels like a loss. I thought we'd done enough. We had to withstand a little bit of pressure in at the end. I thought we'd done enough. 1-0 at home. We just failed to hit the target with our chances. We had some really good opportunities and good chances to hit the target and work the keeper, and we didn't do that. And then you leave yourself open for just that little bit of the onslaught. I've said to the players at the end of the game that in nearly every division you'll play in, the last 5-10 minutes of a game, teams will try and chuck everything at you, and you need to stand up for it, or stand up to it, which I felt we did, just until that last second. And I feel sorry for the players, feel sorry for the fans, but that's football. We done that to a couple of teams this year. We score in the 90th minute. It feels really, really sore. It feels really tough. But the players played really well. We had to fight and scrap against the Stenhousemuir side that are, play for percentage football, play first set pieces. They end up scoring from one, the second phase. But just before that, I think the first corner comes in when they send a keeper up. The keeper gets a header, it hits their man and goes out of play. So it should be our goal kick, and we've seen it, but the referee doesn't give it, and we have to then withstand another 2 or 3 corners after that. So disappointed from that point of view. I thought there was a lot of decisions that went against us, that we didn't protect the players. I thought Freddie O'Donoghue, he got punched in the face at one point, which we have on our camera. The referee just speaks to Freddie O'Donoghue as if he shouldn't be going down. Really poor. I thought Freddie was really good today against the tough defenders in Buchanan. So there's positives, but at the minute it's really hard to see them because you feel so raw.
That's the word that Jack Hanna used, was raw. He says it feels just like worse than a defeat. But the way that the players are hurting is a positive, I suppose.
Absolutely, yeah. If they weren't hurting, there'd be a problem. But I've tried to speak to the players afterwards in there, and there's half the groups holding their head in their hands and devastated, and rightly so they should be. But we then have to bring that devastation into the next game and go, right, let's make sure we do kill off a game and see it out. I thought we could have been better as well when Stenhousemuir are throwing everything at us, and we had the opportunity to then break and go the opposite end. We didn't need to score straight away, although fans want us to score straight away, but we could have passed the ball a little bit more, or kept it in the corners to see out the game, so as then we're not open to those counter-attacks, because they were gambling with men forward. I think I've said that previously in interviews, but we didn't do it today. We left ourselves wide open. They throw everybody forward, and they end up getting a goal, which is devastating for everybody leaving. It's the last thing they remember when they go, but not all the good play before that. Jack Stott's goal, some of the excellent play that we did have, some of the excellent defending that we did have, and Ross Stewart makes an unbelievable save as well. He had to make 2 or 3 saves in the game. So if we had seen that out, the positives would have been magnified, but at the moment it's devastation.
I suppose on reflection, if you look at it over the piece, a draw is probably a fair result. I know you when you get to the 93rd, 94th minute, you're expecting to see it out, but overall a draw is probably a fair result.
I don't think so. I think if we're a little bit better, because we had really good chances to hit the target, and we don't, you send 3 or 4 chances to go over the bar. If the keeper makes great saves like he did, we played in the away game, it was last season, and the keeper made some excellent saves, and they come away and they get a draw out of that, you'd say, yeah, they deserve it because the keeper's had a great game. He didn't.
Is it a case of then that it's Queen's own downfall that they didn't get that second
Absolutely,
goal?
Yeah. That's our fault. We need to hit the target. We need to work the keeper a lot more. Kai Kennedy, even near the end, puts a free kick, like we said about the Hamilton one last week, puts a free kick in, and we have Reece Lyon and Curtis nearly getting the end of it, but we should be getting on the end of those things. It's a great ball in again from Kai. First half, I think there was Liam Smith in the first half and second half has 2 opportunities to hit the target and they go over the bar. If we want to be higher up in this league, we need to be better at taking those chances, because you leave yourself open to just a crappy little goal.
It's hard to defend though when they've got 11 players in the box.
It is, and we defended really well. Curtis Guthrie made 2 great headers, but because they're ringing the box with their players. But if we could clear our lines a little bit further, then we see that out. But we just couldn't do that today. But again, you go back and say, right, well, the decision from the referee to give them another corner when it was a goal kick. I'm being picky there. I'm being really picky, but we see out the game then. Everything calms down, we settle it through, and we don't have to deal with those other corners. So I think we've said it before that there's little decisions that have gone against you. We haven't got penalties this year. Liam Smith last week against Hamilton doesn't get a penalty for going down. We're saying today Freddie O'Donoghue is getting pushed all over the place and punched and pushed over, and the referee doesn't give free kicks, says he's going down too easy. We go, well, it gives our lads yellow cards. Benjamin Luson gets a yellow card in the first 10 minutes. Two of their lads, one smashed. Who was it over that side? I think it was Freddie. Taylor Charters gets studded over here. The referee just talks to them, doesn't give them a booking. If they do that, then they don't go into the next challenges as hard. But the referee didn't do that. Benji had to look after himself the whole game, which he did really well. But again, I'm a bit raw, and I'm going to pick at everything. I think we could have been better if we see the game out, hit the target. I think we score, or the keeper makes saves, and then you say, yeah, it's a fair result, I suppose, because their keepers kept them in it. But we didn't work the keeper enough.
And then, of course, the Curtis being back is another positive today. Curtis getting back.
Yeah, we're
delighted
to get him to 20 minutes, 24 minutes. He hadn't trained, he only trained yesterday. So, hopefully then we might have Brennan maybe coming back next week if he can join in and training during the middle to later half of the week. And then Jordan Allen, he's probably still about 3-4 weeks away, maybe. He's just had a little bit of an issue. He had a bit of fluid on his knee after the operation that needed cleaned out. So we're waiting for that to sort of settle. But yeah, hopefully we're in a little bit of a better position, because today we've had another player on the bench, which is great for the Queen's youth side. But it's Ben Morton, a 16-year-old on the bench, because we've lost a few of the defenders over the last few weeks with injuries.
Jack Hanna seemed to take a sore one as well. I think
flying into the Hordens down the end. We had that with Matty Douglas earlier on the season against Hearts B, where he banged into the fence down the bottom, banged his head, and then had a mad 8 minutes, making a couple of errors. Luckily, Jack, I think he's got a dead leg from flying into the Hordens. But he got through the game. Hopefully he'll probably be a bit tender now coming into the start of next week. But we'll probably have a couple of little tender bodies, but we need to recover, and we've got a tough game coming up against East Fife, which we know. But again, it feels like a loss, but we've got another point. Great result last week. We just need to try and keep a little bit of a momentum going.
It's 2 unbeaten, and that's what you've got to kind of look at, the positive. You need to take as many positives as you can, and that's 2 unbeaten.
Yes, it is. But again, as we said, and Jack Hanna said, it's quite raw at the minute, and to leave ourselves open to that chance near the end, we should have finished the game off.
And of course, East Fife, you've talked about there, wasn't good up at East Fife, so looking to put a few wrongs right next week.
Absolutely, yeah. And as you said today, that the players are devastated. They know they could have done better, so we all know we could have done better. So if we approach next week with that little bit of determination, I'm sure there'll be no problems.